I'm Elwirfy and welcome back to some more wonderful Rise of Nations. We are currently, definitely, in the middle of a wonderful war that we're witnessing right now. And as you can see, things are getting pretty darn heated. As you can probably assume, I'm going to turn up the volume a bit, make sure the volume sounds good for what we're doing here. And pretty much conquered this area, as you probably are aware from watching the last video. So now we're going to start scouting out the capital of the German Empire. Let's try and figure out where the heck they're hiding. We gotta take them out. We gotta get in there and just instant kill them. It's called taking over the world. Alright, so our bombers, we're doing a pretty good job of making sure everything's pretty darn safe. And as you can see, we have, of course, plenty of soldiers being built up here, holding out at the border, of course. As you can see, the Germans decided to come back to take back their city, which I think it's the Chinese who the purple who just helped to take the city back for Germany. It looks like there's like a miniature alliance going on there, and frankly, I'm just not okay with that. So when that happens, I go ahead and bring in some military myself to go ahead and attack this city of Dresden. Pretty much just engage in an all-out war. Again, continuing our onslaught, but our enemy does, of course, bring a lot of bazooka troops because they really want to make sure that our tanks are not operational, which is very fair. I don't utilize these bazooka troops probably as much as I should because they are very useful. I've just always found that quick infantry is a crank out, therefore meaning I have more troops in which to fight the enemy with. As you can see, they are, because I was focusing so much on the city, I was not able to properly engage my opponent, which was a mistake on my part, but fortunately, we have tanks here and we have soldiers still building up, so nothing too horrible happening as the fight rages on here for the city. As you can see, there are other airplanes attacking, and you'll constantly see in the upper left-hand screen that we're under attack by Queen Elizabeth, this player we took out. This accidentally left some troops still alive, but don't worry, they don't become too much of an issue. It's really not a big deal for me. Or at least that's what I've found anyway. So as you can see, the tanks are getting, I'm hopefully trying to take out their tanks, but they're Tiger tanks, because of the Germans having the unique tank, happens to be stronger than our standard American tank, which is a little unfortunate, that our tanks are just the standard tanks, but it's okay. Nothing too horrible about that. German tanks are, of course, very scary indeed to be fighting against. Now, fortunately for us, as our military is able to amass. We do, in fact, actually want to go ahead and look down here. Because I decided to bring over troops to go ahead and just deal with the English. Just make sure the English stop attacking us, because I don't like getting those notifications popping up so much. And then eventually I'll be going ahead and taking, a tank inside their base just to see what we can deal with and how we can lay down some fire on them. As you can see, I found their army that's patrolling around, so I bring bombers in to go ahead and bomb their city. I redeploy the bomber location, and as we fly, I'm able to get a better glimpse of what's around in the area. And I can see that the city's pretty massive, and it possibly was their original capital, but I've not yet found Berlin, so that's going to be something I'm going to be looking out for as we come down here. As you can see, the troops are now mobilizing to move back towards the Germans, because I want to kind of ignore the Russians for now. The Russians being the people in white, who I currently want to get rid of as much as possible, so the steady stream of troops will slowly move forward. I'd say the pathfinding in this game is a little off at times, but nothing too crazy or horrible. So I'm going to go ahead and line up, just defend the borders while I wait for resources. So as you can see, our military population is maxed out, and I'm kind of waiting for that to finish up. Now I go ahead, now that that population has been increased, we can now crank out more soldiers to continue our war. And the scout decides to come into our base and try and possibly take out our anti-aircraft guns, which is certainly not good to get all. You can see on the mini-map, red flashing, that's just because there's a bomber who's currently bombing Lancaster right now. But that's not really my concern, because frankly, you can't take a city if you don't have infantry to do it. That's another reason why I like having lots of basic infantry, because that way we're able to get the most. So I decide, you know what? Ooh, there's the nuclear missile heading up. Now, as you can see, the nuclear missile is about to drop. Boom! miss all their soldiers, but we were able to take out a significant chunk. And I targeted their airbase specifically, because I wanted their airbase to be really crippled. And now in doing so, I noticed that they really are sending in soldiers to deal with that. So I go ahead and deploy what troops I have available to spare that I can afford to take away from the border, because I'm not leaving my border defenseless. So I split up what I have, and I go ahead and bring them in. See, you can see there's some bazooka troops that I left. As you can see, they do actually fall back now, probably because they must have been aware somehow of my impending forces coming in to deal with them. I don't like using the smaller tank cars. I find that they're just not effective for doing the job that the regular tanks can easily do. Plus, resource-wise, the big tanks use metal and oil, whereas these basic infantry only use up food and wood. As you can see, as I walk into their territory, my men are getting burned walking in. That's because there's just a nuclear explosion, and radiation is in fact a thing in this game. So I gotta wait for the radiation to cool down before I'll be able to fully assault this area. Now my opponent doesn't have to take radiation damage because they didn't fire the nuke. So it's like their people are kind of okay with it in a weird way to look at it. But I don't care about the radiation. I go ahead and keep attacking anyway. These men will easily be picked off, but hopefully this is enough of a deterrent to keep the Russians from continuing their bombing runs on me, which is really what would be most ideal. As you can see, as my last tank does end up having to deal with some more problems, I decided to send in the bombing brigade. 10 bombers going in there to just, wreak havoc on the city. And with all these bombers, a full squadron of 10 bombers looks to be what I would need. Like the perfect amount in order to completely reduce the city and break it down to its knees. And I do go ahead and make sure to destroy any anti-aircraft guns that come through. My next target will obviously have to be some amount of resources for the airbase itself, which seems to still be alright. But eventually the airbase will in fact get taken down. My bombers have been retasked. And he's, of course, bombing me just the same, so what little troops I have, I'm making more bazooka troops now, because I realize the need for anti-tank weapons is becoming more and more apparent. And of course I go ahead and keep bombing, because I need to get, it's my goal, to make sure that this airbase does go down. And you can see bombers can do multiple runs and passes around the airbase before having to head back. And this plane is even just shooting down at the city just to keep it reduced, keep it broken, and the bomber will be returning. But soon, the wave of bombers, the bombers are now going to leave their current airbase to go ahead and send in more death and destruction upon them. As my troops, in fact, actually go ahead and invade, go ahead and take over the city, since I'm not too worried about the radiation, if I'm just going to own the city. And since I capture the city, it means that the borders will change. That now my men are no longer taking damage for being inside. Sadly, I do end up losing the city again, because he did bring it in. But I go ahead and continue the bombing of the city, just to make sure that I'm able to capture it when I have the forces gathered together. Now you'll notice over here that I did build the Taj Mahal, or no, not the Taj Mahal. Sorry, I can't believe I said that. It's horrible. It's the Terracotta Army. And this is the best wonder in the entire game. It just makes you free troops. I'd say it's the best wonder in the game. Now, because of this, I decided to go ahead and commit to more heavily armed soldiers. I go ahead and I've built, I've changed the production queues, having a tank on the border still. I still have this little squad on the border, just in case the Germans try anything funny. But really, I'm currently dealing with the Russians, who've decided to come after me for some ridiculous reason. So that's when I go ahead and start moving out the infantry, get ready to support those air defenses, and really just build up some sort of a position here. I've taken over this tank factory here, which is going to allow me to easily gain a stronger foothold on my opponents. So as you can see, the Russians are in fact pushing forward with their tanks. I'm using my fighters to shoot down their helicopters to make it easier for my ground troops to push forward. The bombers coming in, it makes it much easier to coordinate strikes. I'm of course targeting their military installations first, just trying to make sure that my opponent isn't able to really deal with my troops if they have to make their troops further away from current location. Again, this borderline is a pretty heated war zone here. Really using my bazooka to target those helicopters, but really the jets, my fighters are going to be what's going to help me survive this day. If I have any chance at all. So I, of course, am continually bombing, just wrecking the infrastructure, making the city as undesirable as possible to folks that maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to get them to stop defending. And of course, they're counter-bombing me. They're sending in bombers, the Russians against my terracotta army, more infantry moving down, getting ready to move up for a big push, just kind of stalling, having my bazookas target their tanks as soon as I can to make sure that we're getting the most out of our soldiers, going ahead and opening fire with our troops. As you can see, the pyramids have been started by an emperor. I think maybe I think the emperor is the Chinese one, and then the Queen Seneduk or whoever. I think they're the Koreans. I think orange is Korean. I think purple is Chinese, and I think that the teal is light blue is actually the Koreans. Or no, the Japanese. Light blue is Japanese. It's very confusing. Shouldn't really put all the complicated stuff in there. Anyway, bombers now moving out across. They're going to get a good scout off for me as well. Check out kind of the military they have. They do have a helicopter, but those helicopters can only shoot the ground. Kind of useless. But as you can see, I am in fact able to note that for bombing purposes, I really ought to retarget and go after their military itself. So that's in fact what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be using the military to make sure, my bombers to make sure that their military forces they do have are not going to be very useful when I go ahead and march across. So I'm aware that the health of the city is very low, so I go ahead and move in my troops to go ahead and capture with the tanks charging forward. They'll take the brunt of the enemy damage. That's all right. They're going in and getting in position. The tanks, unfortunately, our army's caught up because the Russians have more tanks than I realized they did. So we've actually been pinned down, and we have to halt our retreat, our advance, in order to deal with them. But surely we'll make quick work of our opponents if we're able to just focus on the correct targets. Those helicopters being a primary problem for our military right now, as we go ahead and try and make another desperate push. But it doesn't look like it's going to work out because of the enemy tanks that are very well stacked up. It's like they're learning how to deal with us. We have very little troops left. We still have one tank operational, which is doing a very good job as the enemy is targeting our infantry. But soon enough, our tank will become the next target. Yep, they're going after the tank now, so, and with their increased Russian support, extra troops being brought in, making it very tough to deal with. Indeed. So, back over here in our main base, as you can see, we're bringing over more soldiers here to march forward. Terracotta Army doing its good job producing soldiers. I have not yet expanded any of my military production, so the rate of my military troop output is in fact very slow. But of course, that's what my fighters have been set to defend the city, and right now they're just holding off against the helicopters as I go ahead and line up what troops I have, which doesn't seem like as much as compared to when you saw them marching across. That's why I'm very glad that I have, in fact, more infantry soldiers on the way, ready to go, ready to help defend. And the fighters are now going ahead and loading. Now, notice I did, in fact, build a nuclear missile. The nuclear missile will, in fact, be used to bring death and destruction upon my opponents. And as you can see, they're still sending in bombers. Now, I do have the anti-air guns here, but unfortunately, I do notice they are able to still drop bombs on the Terracotta Army. Not something at all that I want, which is something that will have to be dealt with. The fighters are still zooming around. We're really just building up now. As you can see, the fighters are in fact going after the workers and the people who are helping build the city. And I notice there's some health actually gaining on the city, which is a big problem. Big problem. I was really focused on dealing with the bombers at the time, going a little slow in terms of what I was yes, eventually targeting this city, trying to get it ready for another invasion that I will have to do. Multiple invasions of each city are sometimes required in order to wear down the opponent's military, because they don't usually know how to build up an army as big as mine most of the time. Now I notice we no longer have an anti-German defense at all. Our only pre-warning is that single tank there in our main city, mainly because we're committing so many forces towards the idea of making sure our troops are able to take out the Russians, because the Russians are the ones who are really causing us the problem. They're the ones who are bombing us, not the Germans. So we can let the Germans slide for now. You'll notice Catherine the Great also has 23% of the entire territory under her control. So, and they're second place right now, making them the ideal target in terms of who to kill off next. Now I do go ahead and start replanning some waypoints, and some of my fighters are in fact shooting down even more helicopters, as the enemy has decided not to build fighters of their own to defend their city, which is not necessarily a wise move. And as we prepare for an all-out massive scale invasion to try and take over the Russian Empire, I will in fact sadly be having to leave you guys there today. Really enjoyed playing this game. I'm obviously going to continue making more episodes. As always, guys, I'm Elwirfy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.